everybody, it's me, Alexander Turnbull from René, Aderans. Today, I'm on a live, and thank you everybody for coming to join us today, because I'm really excited. I have a very special guest that's going to be coming on today. This lady is an inspiration to so many hairdressers out there, literally tons and tons of hairdressers. She's inspired me with her work. I've looked at so much of her stuff, both in England, there's a little clue there, and across in America. This lady also has a great understanding of wigs, both in the fashion element of wigs and the hair loss community as well. So this lady's going to give us a very inspirational talk on how she looks at clients with wigs, how she's looked after clients with wigs, because that differs from person to person. And as people that are watching me know, I've been a wig specialist for 20 years plus, had a very successful business in the north of England looking after people with hair loss and wigs and so on and so forth. So I'd like to listen to my guest's story and her take on wigs. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce Miss Vivienne Mackinder, and I would like to get her on. So, okay, so Vivienne, where are you? Just bear with me a second, we shall find her. So just while we're waiting for Vivienne to come on, today what I'm going to be doing, we're going to be talking about a client's journey. Okay, so kind of what a client would experience within our salon, and how the client going into the wig shop, noticing that first little bit of hair loss, and how to deal with that, and also how we should approach somebody, and the best ways to approach somebody, and to talk about something which is uncomfortable, but we have the solutions. So that's what we're going to be going through. We're also going to be doing a little bit of wig styling. I have with me one of the wigs from my collection. She's a very trendy piece. She's asymmetric and she's got a curl pattern. Yes, it's V. So I'm going to be talking about V. Vivienne has a V as well. Excuse me, not just in the name, but she has the style V. And she's got a couple of ideas and a couple of things that she's going to show you, which she's found from over the years as well. So I can see quite a lot of you all on there, all waving. Hi, everybody. I can see Vivienne's just popped in. So before we get Vivienne in there, as you know, all of the stuff here at René of Paris and Aderans. There she is. Hi, Vivienne.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. How are you, you handsome chap?
Oh, I'm great, thank you. Compliments will get you everywhere, Vivienne.
I know. I'm just trying to organise myself here so that I can see you without having to be a little hunchback.
Oh,
hello, everybody. I want to know, Mr. Guru of hair and the fabulous world of wigs, why is it when us girls start to go a little tiny bit thin here, it leaves here and it comes out in the chin?
Right. Well, I think I'm gonna have to think before I answer that and be very diplomatic.
Ladies, do you relate? Tell me. It's like starts to go here. Why can't it go bald back here when no one sees? Why does it have to start to go here? And then all of a sudden you're driving along in your car and the light shines in. You go, oh my goodness, that belongs back up there. What happened?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of hearts coming in there, Vivienne, right now. So, I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, certainly from a man's point of view, you get past a certain age and, I mean, from my point of view, I've started losing more hair here. And it seems these hairs from here seem to have travelled, and they like to pop out of my ears every now and again. And, so, I mean, not a really good look, not a good look, but hey-ho. Age happens to us all, doesn't it?
It does, and it's about being graceful. And I think the most important thing for all of us beautifuls that are part of your world is embracing the change and doing what's appropriate to your inner self as well as your outer self. Because I do believe that beauty begins from the inside out. And I do believe that as we go through our aging process and our hair starts to change and we have good hair days and bad hair days, we have to figure out how can we be the best version of ourselves. And I think that it's so easy to look at celebrities or beautiful models and just then look at yourself and go, oh dear, oh dear, what just happened there? But I think we have to just embrace where we are and say to ourselves, how can I be the best version of myself? Because there's nothing more powerful than being comfortable in your own skin and just enjoying the features and the benefits that each of us brings to the table.
I completely agree. And I think, you know, I think when you certainly get that power of mind, and like, I like where you say it, when your stars are in alignment, it allows us to be creative. You know, I mean, I'm so fortunate with our team here because they are so supportive, and, you know, they're so supportive with everything. So it really does empower me to be the best version of myself and be the most creative version of myself, because, you know, we have had challenges. I mean, I set up my lovely wig line a month before COVID struck the world. You know, it's like, whoa, could I have even predicted that? No, but you know what? With our team and our strength behind us, we get on there, we move forward, and we've adapted, and it's really worked for our business. And I mean, oh, that's somebody that said, my daughter learned so much from you. Thank you very much. Or that might be you, Vivienne, or maybe both. So, but I hear what you're saying. How can we be the best version of ourselves with all the challenges that we have had? And I think having a strong team around you, strong people, surround yourself by love and not negativity, and that helps. And, you know, one thing, certainly from a hair loss perspective, and I mean, I've been in this field for the hair loss field for over 20 years. Certainly there is a direct correlation with stress and hair loss. Okay, I mean, massively. There has been a huge spike, unfortunately, in hair loss due to COVID. People have lost jobs and homes, and, you know, I mean, I myself have been separated from my family for nearly 3 years with the whole COVID thing coming on. They should have moved to the States. So I know myself, there's been elements of stress, and so many people have gone through so much stuff. And it certainly has, there has been a lot of hair loss related to COVID. And is this something that you've noticed with your clients, Vivienne?
Yes, I have. And it's such a fickle arena, because some hair loss is inherited, some is, as you say, environmental, stress related, women going through hormonal changes that take us through there. So there's not one fix for all of these different situations. And so I think it's fantastic when you can know how to select the right style for yourself, because all of a sudden you've got choice. I mean, obviously, if I sat in your chair, you've got to work with me, with my natural texture and the limitations that grow out of my head. The exciting thing about when you dive into the world of wigs is that you can pick your canvas. So if you've always wanted to be a blonde for a moment, you can. If you've always wanted to have sleek hair and your hair is highly textured, you can. And I think that's the most amazing thing. And sometimes people say, well, you know, how do I defy humidity? And obviously with the fibers and the advancement of technology today, you can have a fiber within the wig that is defiant of humidity. So you step out into this humid day and you're sleek. And at the end of the day, you still are sleek because you're wearing it. And I think the choice, it's just a wonderful thing, which then begs to question, when you have so many choices, how do you make your selection? How do you find the right look for you when either you're trying to reinvent yourself, you're maybe going through a career change or a man change, whatever it may be, the empty nest syndrome. They always say that change comes from two places, inspiration or desperation. So I always say, let's get.
I love that.
Yeah, let's go to the inspired place. So I think discussing choice, how do you select the right look, the right color? And that's where you can start to have some fun and some creativity. And I think as long as you're true to self, so if you're like quirky and eclectic, and then you kind of sport that totally, then go with it, right? But if you're classic and you're chic and you're elegant, then go with that. So I think that's about dressing from head to toe, from the inside to the outside. So that's my kind of pro tip today.
Do you know, I love that. And I absolutely love that. And I think what I like about that, because certainly when I've educated a lot of hairdressers how to become wig specialists. And you know, and that is one big reason why I was headhunted to come to the States to you know, show stylists what can be done with wigs, you know, and because that's what I specialized in Europe. So I mean, that being said, it's like when I have educated people and they've like, oh, what shall we do? It's like, well, think about it. Have you got two clients that are identically the same? Taking away identical twins, mind. And then and even then, no, you haven't. The answer is always no. So because of that, having so many different wigs to choose from, it's I think for me, and Trevor Sorby said this, and I know you're a good friend of Trevor's as well, and this always stuck with me as a young hairdresser, because for me, when I found out that Trevor once upon a time was scared of putting hair up, that I was like, what? No way. And he said something which really stuck with me, and it's been great advice for all my career with everything. You take the fear out of something and you can then start creating. So, you know, and I did that the same with my team. You know, I didn't run my team with fear. I created them with love and support, and they became so creative, and they were session stylists in their own right and doing jobs here, there and everywhere. So I think the minute that people realize there's so many different wigs or so many different styles, as many as their models and their clients, and have fun with something that is a very sensitive situation, because, and I'm sure you've come across the same, when I teach, I don't believe in, especially if someone's going through hair loss related illness, treating somebody with loads of sympathy, you know, have empathy, not sympathy. At the end of the day, people need to feel that we're in the lifeboat together, not that they're on their own, you know, and that's so valuable. And I do credit myself to that, because I tried, you know, and I looked after my mum with a hair loss related illness, you know, and I never thought I'd have to be able to be doing that for my mum and creating wigs for my mum, but I did, and I was so happy I had the skill set to be able to do that, you know. Yeah. So that would be my pro tip. Remove the fear in everything, you know. Fear is no good, so remove the fear and then get creative with it. But another little pro tip from me as well is, and not so much for maybe yourself, Vivienne, but I'm 6 foot and I'm quite a big guy, and you know, and I think if I'm then having my consultation and I'm towering over a lady who's feeling vulnerable or you know, that's not good. So I tried to put myself on a chair and be at eye level, and you know, just the little things. I try to treat people how I'd like to be treated, I think is the big thing. And have you had a similar experience with your ladies?
Oh yeah, well, I think it's always important to meet the person in the landscape where they're living, and to stay focused on the prize, stay focused on the result. Because if you focus on the problem, then you never shift through. And we all have problems, and we've got to like say, okay, so what's my ultimate goal? Let's stay focused on that, because there is a solution. And when you're with an expert who understands hair, who understands bone structure, who understands that hair is a very important accessory to the world of fashion. And today we're in a world where it's very individualized. So you can be rock and roll or you can be boho, and they're all in fashion. So I think it's about that authenticity and making sure that you're wearing the right look that just fits who you are and makes you feel great. And I think that's our #1 job as a hairstylist. And yes, I've been in situations that are very, very difficult, where dramatic hair loss or shaving someone's head, and that's, I think, is one of the most painful things to do, to witness that, because it's our emotional attachment. Sometimes this fringing can be a curtain we hide behind. Sometimes it's a mask, and sometimes it supports who we are. And many, many women, I think, are yearning for advice as to what is the best look for me? What is going to suit my bone structure? I need something that's easy, ready to wear, shake it, pop this thing on, and off I jolly well go. I remember a lovely lady who was such an inspiration to me. She was in her 80s, and in the heyday, she used to pilot her own planes back in the 20s. and she wore the most extraordinary wigs, fabulous wigs, and she would each day have a different wig on. She said, "Oh darling, I always want to be fresh and exciting." I went to the fun fair with her, and she said, "Let's do the roller coaster," and I'm like terrified, and I'm following her with her walker, and so we're sitting on the roller coaster. I said, "I'm so frightened, I'm so frightened." She said, "Oh darling, just embrace it," right? So she takes her wig off, sticks it in her handbag. She said, "I don't want to lose this one." We go through the loop-de-loop-de-loop. We end up, and I'm screaming my whole way through. She then takes it out, shakes it, puts it back on her head. She said, "I'm good to go." And
that is amazing.
That's a really amazing person. So I know you've got some tips and tricks to share with everybody today. Should we show them the magic?
I would love to, and as well. I mean, a lot of our viewers have seen the things that I do and my journey and the way I do hair. So although I am going to do some hair, and I'm going to do some hair with you, I want our viewers to be able to see your take on it, because you know, you are extremely modest, Vivienne, but you are an absolute icon in our industry. So it's amazing to have you on here. So I'm going to ask you as if I don't know anything, and I'm going to ask you just some normal, pretty basic questions, but that I think we'll get some kind of stuff back. And by all means, all our viewers that are out there, if you have any questions, please, like I said, there's no such thing as a silly question, so please bring them forward. But so Vivienne, if I understand how you would approach somebody and your mindset behind talking to the client, but when they come in the chair, because I mean, for me, like you said, there's not one size fits all. Some people like a wig cap, some people don't like a wig cap. Some people like body in their wigs and really dense hair, because their bio hair could have been really dense and heavy, or they want really finer hair. Some people like permanent. So do you have any tips around that?
Well, I think first of all, you've got to know your head shape. Are you an oval or a round? Because a round head shape fills up the space within a wig, and an oval, you've got to be careful of the oval maybe being too voluminous for the size of your face. So I think that when you look at making a style choice, my go-to is always, how do I balance to create an oval face shape? And I have a rule that I use, which is I go from forehead, top of the forehead to the eyebrow, eyebrow to the tip of the nose to the chin. So it's 1, 2, and 3. So ultimately, the balance of your face, the one.
I want to have, if I do it, I'll remember it.
Go ahead. So the 1.
1.
Yeah. Now the 2, nose to brow. And then, but you moved your fingers. You mustn't move your fingers. So look, if I lift my hair up, so you can see like there, 1. Now my fingers stay the same. They don't move in and out.
Got
1.
it.
Guys, you should follow along. Get a mirror. 2 and 3. And then ultimately, to make sure that this is balanced, 4. So all of these should be an even divide. But when we're just looking at the face, you keep your fingers still, hairline to brow, keep your fingers still, brow to tip of nose, tip of nose to chin. And that's the rule of 3. And then you want to make sure this is it. So whenever you're choosing fringe or not a fringe, asymmetric or not asymmetric, center parting or so on, you have to look at, how do I retain or create the rule of 3 so that my face is balanced and I'm not either overwhelmed by too much hair or I don't have enough hair. So that's the first thing that I look at. Then there's the rule of 5. The rule of 5 is that this here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the width. So if you think about this, when you're creating any hairstyle and when you're styling your hair at home, you can either open or close, make higher and longer. There's only 2 things you can do, this and this. So when you do this, if you lengthen your face and you change your rule of 3, that may not be the most flattering. If you close the face and you get the rule of 3, then that could be more flattering. So every single person's individual, but that's my first go-to to make sure that whatever style you're selecting balances, because as I said, oval is the most perfect balance, and it's not an opinion, it's a science. So I've studied the science of face shape. and the face shape of science. So it's, as I say, it's not an opinion, it's not a trend. So if you look at trends right now, very strong jawlines are on trend because there are celebrities and models who've got these strong jawlines, and it makes it seem very cool. So it's more of a masculine look. But if you look at classic oval, and you take a square face and you oval it, or you take a pear face shape, wider here, narrow here, that lady who's got fullness here and is narrow here, she can take more volume and more texture there, because this changes this. So a lady who's got a pear face shape, what would her head shape be? Is she oval or is she round? Da, 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 da.
Well, I mean, that is something that we can change with the rule of three, correct?
Yeah,
So,
but we can, but generally.
and is it an upside down pear or an?
So this would be a pear that's the right way up. So generally, a pear face shape has an oval head. They don't have a round head.
Yeah.
If you look at your face and you think you're very full here and you're full up here, generally you're round, because the round head and the round face. But when you're a pear, you have wideness here, you have narrowness here. So when your wig sits on, you may even want to wrap your hair in a way that you kind of pat it out a little tiny bit, or you backcomb it, or you get the fluffy style where you have volume here that slims down here. So it's all an illusion. So that's my first and my big thing, that I follow that, because you know what, what's the point in any fashion or trend when it doesn't suit you? Suitability is number one. And you show a photograph to your hairdresser, so what? If it's a celebrity, it's not you. You've got to design to the best version of you, and I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and do you know what, that is amazing. That is amazing, because I think it's, for me, it's managing people's expectations. And, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to look like Brad Pitt and have a six-pack. I'm sure my wife would like it even more. But you know what? The only six-pack I've ever had was sat in the fridge at home, and you know, so that's been and gone, you know. But I think
my husband can do better than you. He's not working on a six-pack; he's working on a beer keg.
Oh, well, that's even better. Well, tell him I'll catch him up at some point. Oh dear, but you know, you're so right. It's managing expectations, and from my point of view, it's that. And you know what? It was Leonardo da Vinci that said, because I've also studied face shapes, and as much as I have a silly, happy-go-lucky exterior, I'm an avid reader when it comes to things with my business and science. And Leonardo da Vinci said that true beauty is symmetry. Now we know that isn't always true. If you put a mirror to your face and all the rest of it, but you've got to think, when Leonardo da Vinci was writing these things, and this was coming out so many years ago, and so ahead of his time, that what he was really referring to was balance.
Oh, absolutely.
And hairdressers can get balance. I know hairdressers can understand balance. So if I have to do an asymmetric style, and I know you and I have discussed this before, and it's here, you know, I'll make sure I've got some body here to offset the balance. So great tips. Now, have you got a wig with you? Because I know I sent you one. Da, 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 da. Okay, so while Vivienne gets her wig ready, I'm going to just explain what wig this is. So this is V. Now V is an asymmetric wig from the Alexander Couture Collection, which is my collection. V is really trendy, really, really cool. And it has a curl pattern in there. So I know that Vivienne has some top tips on how to put the wig on. I have my V already on a mannequin, so when I come into some styling, I'll do that. But I'd like to have a little look and a little idea into how Viv is going to put the wig cap on. And also, I can see you've... Right, do you know what? I'm going to stop talking because I talk far too much. I'm going to hand over because there's that lovely bit of hair sticking out the front, and I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm interested. So please tell me.
Okay, so the number one thing is I intentionally took a mannequin with thicker hair, because finer hair is obviously much easier to conceal under a wig cap. So I just took something that's thicker, and obviously for photo shoots and fashion shows, when we're using wigs from a fashion perspective, as some of you may, you want a fashion style and you already have, you know, a lot of very nice hair. How do you make it look real? So I've taken the hair back into a ponytail and I've taken it low. I'm now going to take my cap that has a hole in the center, and I'm going to just drape that across. I always cheat it forward so that I can pull it back. And so now what I'm going to do is now pull that back without pulling it off and making sure that that's nice and secure. So what I want is flatness here, and I want to create a lovely, lovely head shape. So now I have all of this hair here. So I'm now going to take this here, and I'm going to now bring this down, and I'm going to very mindfully wrap this around just here and make it as flat as possible. I'm going to just do it so that you're not going to see it at the front. Now, I love to use what I call, these are called Japanese pins. Can you see that? It's a Japanese pin.
Slight, yeah, I can see it. And aren't they wonderful?
They are. So I use them as a sewing method. So imagine you're sewing a hem on trousers. So I just sewed that down, and my goal is to make this spread out and be as flat as possible. Now, you know, when we're doing a wig wrap for a photo shoot or so on, we will often do a flat, wet wrap. But in this case here, I'm just trying to show you something that is easy for you to do as the consumer, and how you're just going to disperse the hair and just have it be nice and flat. And I sew, and I find these better than using a bobby pin that is bulky. And the great thing about this pin is that I can bend it to follow the curvature of the head. So for all of us ladies who know how uncomfortable it can be with one pin bothering you, right? This is just a great way of getting that hair out of the way and flattening it down so it's nice and snug. So that to me would be the quickest way to take a lot of hair and just get it as flat as possible. Now, sometimes I will just do a little tease here at the root, and then I will even sew into that so that this is really anchored down.
Sorry to interrupt, Vivienne, but would you mind turning the head on the side just so we can see that little thing that you did?
Yeah, sure. Let me just grab my pen. So this here, I'm just going to bring it down and make it as snug and as flat as possible all the way around. So just that kind of shows you how I've dispersed the hair, and I don't mind that I have a little bit of volume there. Actually, it's at the back, which
I'm glad that you do, because it's it's going to lend itself nicely to the style. So I guess you could choose where you wanted to put the body based on where you put the ponytail.
Yes, absolutely. And face shape. Where do you need a little tiny bit of volume, and where do you want it super flat? So that would be the other thing. So when you look at the beauty of your wig, and you see here this lovely little mesh area, and then obviously you see your wefting here, this mesh makes it look as though it is, you know, flesh. When you actually see that close, let me show you, you can see that the front of this absolutely merges into the skin, so it has a lovely.
Just lift it slightly higher for us, Viv. That's perfect. Yes, so you can see the lace. Lovely.
So that makes that marvelous, and obviously that's a huge contrast to obviously where you have the wefting. So I have with intention left out a little section here, thinking that if this was a lady who needs lift as opposed to drag down, I've given her that little baby bit of lift. And so what I would do in here is just come in, and I would try and match the shape of the curl that's already within the wig. So just a little tiny bit of movement through there, just around my iron, and just very, very relaxed and soft, so that that's sort of taken care of. When I put the wig on, I make sure that nothing's caught. I then decide, okay, do I need this to be a little bit more snug in the back based on head shape? So, you know, do I need to cinch it in? It's like cinching your bra, girls. Hoist it in, right?
You are so funny.
Right, so now you take that to the front, and it's always lovely when there's someone to hold it, and clearly she's got no arms. They're still in China.
I mean, I'm a little bit more concerned about how quiet she is today, Vivienne. I mean, she's normally got so much more to say.
So, you know, it's funny. It's so important to do one simple thing. You get the two earpieces and you make sure that they're on correctly, because there's a little bit of metal in there to shape in as opposed to sticking out. So you want to make sure everything is lovely and positioned before you start to do any of your style. So clearly that's a little too far forward. I'm going to cheat it back, and it's always easier to start further forward and cheat it back. I've gone too far. And now
what I do with that one, I say I create a one head, and then I pull it back into a two head, then a three head, until I can have a four head.
Yes.
Because that way, if you, I don't know if you found the same, when I try to, and I've got quite a lot of experience in this, but when I try and aim for the hairline, I always miss. So I go for my one head, and then I go two head, three head, and just count it back. And that's how I tend to make that work. But Vivienne, that looks amazing already.
So what I personally like to do, because I love how it kind of works, is that you absolutely don't need to pin a wig down if you've got it nice and snug and you've cinched the back so you have your tightness. But one of the things that I like to do when I'm on a photo shoot, so this is something I would use more in a photo shoot where, you know, it's coming in really, really close to the face and you don't want to give away any secrets. You want the audience to think it's actually the model or the celebrity's own hair. So what I like to do is I think the giveaway is if the wig rises. So you want the wig to really sit in snug, snug, snug in here. And I would rather have the volume at the occipital bone, because I always think that's very sexy on a woman. A little elevation at the crown, a little bit there, versus having this bump on the top where the hair may be, there may be too much hair. So remember what I said, the way to change a face shape is to change a head shape. So if you understand whether you're an oval and you can feel the volume in your head, and another way of thinking about it is when you put a hat on, if you're an oval head shape, maybe the hat falls down, it's a little big on you. And maybe if you're a round head shape, the hat sort of perches more on the top, maybe you've got a fuller head, right? So those are things to take into consideration. So I like to, once I've got myself sorted with everything in the right place, it's very good to have a tail comb. So if there's anything that's naughty, that's crept out, you can tuck and tuck and tuck. So that's very important. So I would, at this point on a photo shoot, or if she's running and dancing or whatever, I'm going to bring this baby down as tight as possible. And I come in with my pin and I actually sew, and it's like a staple gun.
I mean, I'm so intently watching and enjoying it that I keep having to remind myself I'm on a live and I'm not doing my concentration face, which is generally mouth open and gormless looking eyes, like, oh, but honestly, this is so great to watch. And I've been, you know, like I said, I've been in this industry a while, but I love watching your take on it. And this is such valuable information. And just for any of our viewers that are on at the moment, if any of you have any questions for Vivienne, please fire them forward. And even if you haven't got any questions, I think that's because you're giving us so much information, Vivienne, that will be so great for our end users.
Now this is important here.
Oh,
now then, guys,
somebody just said, OMG, they want one. I think they mean they either want a wig or they want a Vivienne. Please, can you confirm?
Okay, so this is really, really important here. This is a pet peeve I have. And I'm going to do a confession about some hairdressers that drive me nuts. When they blow dry and they curate the cobra head, they give all this volume through here and it just looks like a cobra. It's like, hello. If you want something to look modern, you should actually sit it in tighter at the cheekbone and have the volume at the ear, because you always want to create triangles. That's a triangle right there. right? So when you do it like a box, i.e. I just pin this in here, so that's tighter in there, and now there's the volume there, so it's sitting snug around the face and there. So I just sewed again through there. Now this side doesn't really need anything, so this is a really, really beautiful wig. Now if it has a short forehead, and we in England would think of a hedgehog. They got no forehead, right? Yeah. So if she's got a short forehead, we're going to lift her up. And we're not going to do a curtain fringe because that's not going to look good. So look there. If the wind is blowing, the wind test. Then it's the wind. So there, you can't see the seam because I've done that. So I would probably at this point put just a little bit of hairspray there just to lift that up a bit. So now it's her own hair that's coming through, and I've got it snug there. And now I can just play with this gorgeous texture. Now, remember, you've got to design your hairstyle to fit your face shape. So as I'm coming through here, I want to obviously create more of that triangle. So anytime you do triangles, 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 you're going to have a really, really lovely effect. So you want to make the nape nice and scruffy. So if this is rising up, because you know this dolly has a little head, I'm going to just use another pin in here. So you can see the number one thing is it's got to sit on a good base. It's just like makeup. Nothing you do on top of your skin is going to work unless you've got the right hydration, the right foundation, and then when you add color to that, it's sitting on something good. The wig cap and how you pin is part of, and I'm going to sew in here, your foundation. So when I do that, now it's not going to jump. That looks very soft and scruffy, where before, because it's a little bit of a big wig on this little tiny head, she's a doll, remember?
Yes.
So, you know, I'm just like accommodating it accordingly. So I've elevated that up. I've got the natural hair coming through. I've skinnied that down. And then, of course, you know, you just design into your mirror as you would. And off you jolly well go. So, you know, don't make it too perfect and matchy-matchy. Let it be a little bit lifted. And use your fingers. You know, this is get it out of the box, shake, and you wear it. It's easy peasy.
Vivienne, I'm just going to say as well, thank you so much, because I designed this wig some time ago now, and everything that you're saying and the way that you're talking about it is exactly as I envisioned the wig to be worn. A little bit blown out, a tiny maybe bit tongued, a bit disheveled, but it was never my intention to have a very, I'm a big, as you know, a big texture fan. I find texture beautiful and feminine and stunning. So yeah, you know, that's so the way you're communicating that is exactly as I wanted it to look. She looks gorgeous.
Yeah, she's lovely. She's ready for a hot date. So right, in summary, make sure you're anchoring really, really well. And so the key places for me is sitting in super snug at the temple.
Yep.
Super snug down here. And super snug here. Then all the rest of this volume is easy. But if it starts to rise off your head because you haven't got your foundation right, then it's not going to look as believable as you'd want it to be.
I completely agree. And you know, even though, I mean, all of our wigs here, they're all adjustable, and we have even things for, René of Paris, we've got everything. We've got the larger caps, more petite caps, you know, different sizes and stuff. But that doesn't take away from even how large or small somebody's head could be about the face shape. And I think that is which is a really good takeaway for any of our viewers on the whole face shapes thing, because sometimes that we think, oh, well, I think we can get confused with hair density and size of head and think that that goes into face shapes, and it doesn't. So, oh, there's one of my social sisters, the Texas Wig Fairy. She said it looks fabulous. Thank you, Danny. And that's really interesting, because the Texas Wig Fairy, Danny, She wears the caps, and she'll, like yourself, she will anchor wigs in and grip them in. And our alopecia ambassador, Abby, she doesn't wear the cap and just goes straight on. And it's amazing to listen to the two ladies because they have such a different story. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm feeling very lazy now watching you do all this work. So I think...
While you're getting ready, I was doing a show for Fashion Week in New York, and the designer wanted all of the girls to wear very short, little cute haircuts. So the only way to do it was clearly a wig. There was one model that came in, her waist was below her bra strap, and it was so thick. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how are we going to get all of this hair underneath this wig and have it sit nice and snug and tight as she's walking down the runway and she's changing clothes? So it's got to really be locked in. And so some of these little things that we're sharing with you are things that we're using in fashion and to create a gorgeous image where that model won't cut off her hair and you want to create that look. So disguising and getting rid of all of the hair for another look. And I'm sure there's some of you who are watching today that would like to go, you know, like to do something more fashionable with your hair just for a day or two. It's fashion without the commitment. And so you want to do it and feel confident and feel like, you know, it's not going to slip off or whatever. And I think those are the important things. So hopefully that was helpful, and just sending lots of love to all of our gorgeous ladies watching. So over to you, Maestro.
Oh, bless you. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Yeah, so I just wanted to echo what you were saying then. So I did a TV show some years back called The Great British Hairdresser, like the Great British Bake Off. Yeah, I was successful in that. I think I came up third or fourth or whatever. But so I was on there for quite some time, and we flew out to Ibiza to do a load of like jobs and different tasks, and it was all live TV, and then you know, it was wacky. And one of the tasks, we went to one of the big clubs, and we had to make and do hair for the dancers, and all flamboyant, like something from Carnival. Anyway, I needed to go to the bathroom. So by the time I got back from the bathroom, all models had been taken. And the only model that was left was, I mean, she was an amazing model. She was a black girl, and she was about 6'3", and she had high heels on top of that, but she had a shaved head. So she looked amazing. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So I rallied round and found all these little bits of hair. I ended up making her a white afro. So by the time this girl actually had the heels on, her natural height and the afro, she was about 8 foot. And then we had to listen to the choreographer saying, right, girls, you're going to go on the trapeze and spin around. I'm like, oh my goodness. So there's all these people in Ibiza, they're all dancing and partying. And I've got this vision of this white afro flying into the crowd, and not only that, it being immortalized forever on television. Anyway, fortunately I managed to get it down. Okay, I managed to get it to stay down. I managed to anchor it down. Okay, so that was good. So it didn't go anywhere and it didn't fall off. But again, that was down to good preparation, building it, putting it down. I then did, because she had a shaved head, I did put a wig cap on and then put another wig cap over that with some packing in there so I could get the wig attached to something. So very valuable stuff. So here she is. This is V. So first off, I'm going to go in. So I'll be slightly out of shot. So first, what I want to do with my V, so I just want to give her a little comb through, and I want to break up the curl pattern. Now, it's important to note, I mean, all of our wigs can be brushed and tweaked and moved around to change the curl pattern, but the curl pattern will come out of the box like this, like so it's freshly tongued. So for instance, like you might be in the salon, you might freshly tongue your hair, but then you don't want to comb it out until you go to the event because you don't want the hair to drop. So a lot of the similar kind of rules will apply to wigs, if you like. So I also want to work with having the lace front. So I also want to take it off the face a little bit. So first I'm just going to give a visual onto the actual wig itself. So, you know, we're asymmetric. So this can come around the ear like this, which looks lovely. I think for the styling, I just took her behind the ear. And she is just, have this length in here. So ultimately, I want to do something nice and simple that's quite achievable and quite well. So I had a couple of ideas. And my best friend for a lot of styling has recently become, and I never thought I would say this, a topsy tail. I love them. I absolutely love them. Right? And,
Great.
I mean, had you have said to me when I was 25 and I thought I was the best, coolest hairdresser in the world, and if you'd have said, oh, you know, you're going to get into your 40s and you're going to be using topsy tails, I'd have laughed out of town. But this is so valuable and it's really handy for me.
Well,
so,
you know what? When I now thread a needle, that's kind of the size I need.
You know what, Vivienne? I was about to ask you if you'd cut my hair next, but I still would like you to do it, but I might have to hold my ears in. Actually,
but I think they're great. Those topsy things are amazing. I use them a lot, and it's just extraordinary what you can do. I mean, it's super fun. I'm keen to see what you're going to do with it.
Well, so anyway, so this one was in my kit, and I had to double check my kit this morning because my eldest daughter, Amber, she likes to steal things out of Daddy's hairdressing kit. So I double checked that was there, and then I also double checked that my little sweetheart hadn't stolen this, because I went to buy this the other day from an accessories store. So I just wanted to show something nice and simple, what could be done with V. And I wanted to give an example. Say, for instance, we have summer coming up. We have weddings, bridesmaids, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, if any of our ladies are experiencing any hair loss and they're like, oh, I don't really want to style my own hair, want to get a wig. But ultimately, the amount of people without any hair loss whatsoever that wear our wigs because they know that the blow dry is going to stay all day. You know, some people will just literally do it for that, you know, like, I want that wig because I know that blow dry is going to stay. And as you said, it's so well earlier, humidity proof, you know, which is a big thing. So I just want to put this on. So this is like she's going for the event. So I'm just, and again, it's positioning now. So, you know, I want to position this forward. And again, balance and position, balance and position, balance and position. Remember, my young lady is going out to an event as well. So she is, where's she going? Where should we say she's going with this? Do we think this is potentially quite wedding-y?
Yeah, or a romantic evening with a sunset somewhere. I'm going to fantasize. She just watched Bridgerton.
Oh.
And so she's feeling incredibly romantic, and she's going somewhere gorgeous, and she's around flowers, and she wants to look like a floral maiden. There you go.
Oh. Right. Well, I mean, you sold it so much better than I did. I mean, you know, I wasn't going to say she was doing the weekly shop or anything, but
is that actually a headband, or is that a necklace that you're using as a headband? Because it's really cool.
It's a headband.
Oh, I like it.
It's a headband, and it's just a really nice, easy way to integrate,
sure,
and to make them part of the same thing, and to dress, you know, to dress a wig up without having to use a load of products or whatnot. So I'm just literally going in with the topsy tail. I'm holding that piece of hair. I put the topsy tail underneath the headband, and he says, effortlessly.
I love it.
You watch it, it'll pop out next.
I love it. It makes me want to have the headband and the whole thing.
Okay, well,
the whole look.
Well, I mean, I have your address. Maybe the headband might appear on your doorstep one morning. So, and then what I do is that little piece of hair that came out, I then just grab that and I put that again in the topsy tail.
It's so cool. I love it.
Underneath, and
guys, do you like it? All of our friends watching, don't you think that's so clever? I think it's totally clever. I would never have thought of doing that.
Well, it's just, you know, just little, like, simple ways of of integrating like and I think you said it again well, by integrating wig hair into things that we wear day by day, it makes things just look and feel so much more natural. And you know, and I've said to any of my ladies in the past, I've said well, obviously within reason, but treat it like it's your hair. You know, I mean, obviously if it's not a heat friendly style, then obviously don't put straightening irons in it or anything like that. But the idea is, if you want to brush it, brush it. If you want to put something in it, put it in it. You know, because hair is organic, so there is not one hairstyle which every hair is in exactly the same place. So,
but did you know, Alexander, that when I was at college in the UK, my college textbook was called The First 5,000 Years of Hairdressing. We started with the Egyptians. It was a long journey. Wow. But what was fascinating about it was throughout the history of the last 5,000 years, this is the least amount of time that we have ever worn wigs, because everybody throughout history wore some kind of hair addition or wig throughout the history, from the Egyptians right the way through. So I think it's wonderful to revisit something that's in our heritage that allow people to dress up and be fabulous and make a very powerful statement. So I just think it's super exciting to just think of how you can be playful with a wig and how you can do things like this, that it's having the confidence to go out there and say, why not? And just have fun. And as I say, as long as you design it to your face shape and your personality, then it becomes part of you. And that's the key, have it be part of you. And I just think that this is gorgeous what you're doing. I love it.
Oh, well, thank you. And you know, that was another great topic, because they actually said, like, something, it was some crazy statistic, like in the 1970s, that 1 in 3 ladies wore a wig or some kind of hair addition. And it's funny, I can't say too much because I'm kind of working on it at the moment, but I've actually been researching what wigs were made out of hundreds of years ago and what materials they were made out of hundreds of years ago. And I've actually been trying to work on a material that hasn't been seen in the wig world for hundreds of years. I can't say any more than that because I'll be giving the game away. But you know, but that's the thing. And isn't that amazing that you can research things from hundreds of years ago and see if it's apparent again and all that kind of thing? Because everything just comes around, doesn't it? Oh,
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think what you're showing here too is, you know, let's be playful, let's have some fun, you know, fashion is, hair is a vital accessory to the world of fashion. So have fun and play and be true to yourself. It's adorable.
And it's subjective, isn't it? Because what one person will love and what the next person will love will be two different things. And I've just dressed this up because now when I turn this onto the back, this looks very Gatsby. Coco Chanel, 20s kind of fashionable, Dita Von Teese, this kind of vibe with a modern kind of almost like a little bridal twist to that. Again, echoing what you were saying, Vivienne, about this gorgeous, very flattering shape. So I can do that by doing this. I look at the band. Do I want to see much more of that band? Well, that's optional.
I like it.
I don't mind seeing a bit, but I just wanted to break her up a little bit. And then what I do is I look for balance, okay? So then I'll look around here and I'll think, oh, well, you know what? That's too much band on that side. Yes. So I just come in with my pintail comb and I just, again, and what I'm doing is I'm using the telephone and the platform as my mirror. So, you know, for any ladies that are getting ready, or gents that are getting ready or whatever, you know, have a mirror. I mean, they're so valuable, but just see what I've done by breaking that up. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to fool the world that I haven't used a headband, because I like the fact I've used a headband. It's created the shape, but I just didn't want so much contrast from the band to the actual hair itself. So then what I do is I look 360. Okay, so if ever I see a lady at a party and I think she looks absolutely stunning, and I look and she's got the beautiful dress on and the bag and the matching shoes and stuff like that, I generally haven't walked up to that lady and gone, wow, you look amazing. I've been stood from a distance. I've probably said to my wife, oh, wow, doesn't she look really good? So I've seen her from a distance. So this is what I teach all my hairdressers, and I teach other people when they're looking at it. Don't get swallowed into the job. Look back, stand back, look back from balance. I mean, I'm lucky because I've got the phone and I can look and I think, oh, does that work? Does that balance? Does it work for the young lady? Does she look okay? Is she happy with this shape? Show her, communicate, you know? I feel some of the biggest things in life can be avoided with good communication, you know? Now, that for me is as good as done. I now want to just have a little feel through, just check I'm happy with everything else. And I'm going to go in with one of our hairsprays. This is called Revive. And this is from the René of Paris wet line. So what Revive does is it's designed to revive our fibres. So I'm just, because I've given her a brush out by having a little mist of Revive, it's just given a little bit more definition towards the ends on those curls. Although I don't want it to look freshly tongued, I don't want it too fluffy. So that's just created that balance. And you know, I could go in with hairspray, but do I need to? I don't need to. So because I don't need to, I'm thinking, well, less is more. You know, I'll only use product when I really need it. You know, and that goes with my own hair these days as well. You know, if I can get away with just a little bit of spray at the front, I do. And I feel like when I first got into hairdressing, that product was the big thing. But I think now hair is a lot more hairy. Does that sound a bit silly? But, you know, a bit more softer and a bit more organic. And, you know, it's much more about the condition of hair and the health of hair, as opposed to it needs to be in that shape. You know, back to the 80s when everyone had it bleached and permed and it would go wet and it would stretch and all start breaking apart. You know, that was okay as long as we had the shape, right? But now it's like, you know, it's all about condition first. And I think that goes across the head, you know. We're very apparent now, aren't we, about be kind and have a good mental attitude and be kind to your fellow person. And I think it's kind of almost followed in hair. Be kind to your hair, you know, be kind to your skin, look after yourself. It's a lot of that kind of stuff. So that is my version of V. Can we have can I have your V in there so we can have a picture of the ladies together? I mean, here they are. I mean, they are separated from states. I mean, I'm here in California and you're there in New York, but they'll see each other at some point, won't they?
That's great.
Thank you. And so does yours. You know, two very different takes on the same piece. I'm going to move her out of the way, and I am going to open it up for a few questions, Vivienne. And so any of our viewers that are on, if they have any questions for Vivienne at all on you know, Vivienne's, it doesn't all have to be wig related. It could be career related or hair fashion or whichever. So I'll give it a couple of minutes, Vivienne, to see if anybody got any questions. And if they don't, I think you've done a fabulous job of covering absolutely everything and given some wonderful tips for our viewers. Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, it's just been an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. It really has, and it's a real honour for me, and I don't say that lightly. You are an absolute icon in the industry, and you inspire so many of us, and I know your time is absolutely so valuable. So thank you for sharing with us your experiences and the things you've been through, and you know, I like to think that certain things cannot be taught. It's years spent in the industry and time and experience, and thank you for sharing yours with us. Big thank you from the Texas Wig Fairy in Capitals. She's obviously enjoyed this segment. So if we were going to have a little recap on what we've discussed today and what we've been through, and if our viewers were going to have one key takeaway or two or three from Vivienne, what would it be?
I saw one question come through about where would one begin, and I'm not quite sure what that specifically means. So if you're there, maybe we could sort of address that. Do either of us have classes? I know that you do have classes, correct?
Yes. Okay. To answer that in short, yes, we do classes. We are. I've been an educator in all aspects of hairdressing, but I concentrate mainly on the wigs. I have classes coming up all the way through the weeks. Please direct messages and we'll let you know when one of the next classes is coming on. We have different classes that are going to be rolling out. So please, I think that's Hair by Brie. Please direct messages and we'll give you some more information. Vivienne, I know that you have lots of content out there. Would you like to share what you have?
Yeah, so my education is a blend of mentoring and coaching as well as online. So my website's called Vivienne Mackinder, and there you'll find a plethora of education, and we have a contact form there, so if you're interested in knowing how we can tailor something to you, you can go to viviennemackinder.com, and it's VIVIENNE and Mackinder, MACKINDER. So that's good. And somebody did ask about where to begin, and I'm not sure if you're a hairdresser or a consumer, so if you want to just kind of come back with a little clarification. I grew up in the industry as a, I learned wigs at college because part of my training at college for 2 years was that I did a 2-year program in wig making. And so I understood the foundation of what that was, because for me, I was going to have a career in film or theatre. I wasn't quite sure. And that was going to be my journey. So understanding the construction of a wig and understanding all the different elements about the fitment and so on and so forth is so very important. And to make the wig look real, believable, like it's growing out of your own head is always my ultimate goal. So whether it's a model walking down a runway or for a photo shoot or a client sitting in my chair, I want that realness to be there. If I'm not doing real, then it's over the top and it's very theatrical, which is clearly not real. But generally, it's just feeling like it's a part of you versus an accessory. And I think that's a very important thing. So if you're interested in learning more, I would highly recommend you go to one of Alexander's classes, because he's so well-rounded in the broad depth of skills in hairdressing. So that's a great place to begin. So I would suggest that. And my conclusion today to the consumer, which everyone on here is a consumer, celebrate your individuality and look at how you can be the very best version of yourself, because everybody else is taken, but there's only one you, and you need to shine in your own light and be very authentic to yourself. And so therefore, when you're choosing a style, it's a style that fits your lifestyle, your personality, your face shape, your body type, your age. All of those things are part of the decision making. And so when you go to your hairdresser, that's a very important conversation. For any hairdressers who are watching, for me, number one is suitability. And as I mentioned earlier, suitability is not an opinion, there is a science behind it. It's a hard thing to teach, but I've studied for years and years and years about face shape, balance and proportion. And when I look back to old photographs of myself, clearly I can look back and go, what was I thinking? I was blinded by fashion.
We can all do that though.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's many of you that if you look back at some crazy photos of the past, you'll go, what was I thinking? Well, it was in fashion, so we did it. But I think we're smarter than that today. And I think great beauty withstands the passage of time. And also great style completes who you are. It doesn't compete with who you are. So thank you so much.
Wow, that was wonderful. I like that. So great style doesn't, yeah, say it again. I want that one again.
Great style doesn't compete, it completes who you are.
Well, that's my takeaway from it all anyway. That's lovely. So Vivienne, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been fun.
An absolute pleasure. And even though I've got a long commute home, I'm going to be smiling ear to ear from today. So thank you so much. And you and I are good pals, so I'll be chatting to you at some point again. But thank you so much for coming on. It was amazing.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching today. I hope that is some value to your world. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alexander.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Bye, Vivienne.
Bye.
Bye. I'll say that. Okay. So, yes, so to everybody that's just like, we're just signing out now, wasn't that amazing? Wasn't that absolutely amazing? Yeah, brilliant. What I loved hearing from Vivienne, loved learning what, you know, her take on it. One thing that I've said to a lot of stylists over there, you know, look at what everybody does. Look at what everyone does. Take a little bit of what everybody does out there and make it your own, because I don't have all the answers, and you know, not everybody has all the answers. Everybody has their answers, and that's what's so individual with this. So a big thank you to Vivienne for joining us. I'm going to be signing out now and saying goodbye to you all. So if there's any quick questions that anyone's got, then please fire them forward. Today we've had a segment on approaching clients, how you would speak to clients with hair loss, maybe somebody that had hair loss for the first time or possibly was going through treatment. Also, how to fit a wig, and how to fit a wig, you know, not necessarily if people have lost all the hair, but integrating their bio hair. How to wrap a wig to change face shape. All of these valuable things we got in today's section. So thank you, Vivienne. We also did a little bit of styling on my wig, V. You saw Vivienne's take on V and my take on V, a couple of different things. V is, you know, available and in stock. Should anyone require it or need it, or if anyone's got a V and they do any styling, please share it with us. We'd love to see it. And I think I'm going to say bye. So thanks everybody for tuning in today. I'm Alexander Turnbull. This is René of Paris, and it's been lovely to be with you all. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.